Hi, welcome to the Yarn and Yarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all of the places you can find me should be linked in the description box below this video, as well as links to my Ko-fi and my Patreon if you are willing and able to support the channel in any way. I truly appreciate any donations that I get through those channels. It just helps me to make the time to continue to make these videos. Welcome to my weekly chat about what I've been making. As you can see, I'm down at the beach this morning, my local beach, and the tide is right in. I haven't brought my projects with me because I've actually brought a few products down to the beach with me to do some photography for the website. If you've visited the Yarn and Yarns website, you'll know that quite a few of my sort of unique, rather than the sort of branded photos, I've been taken down here on the beach. So I've got some new things to share. So I'm doing that this morning, which meant that I couldn't bring all of my projects down. But I know a lot of you enjoy a visit to the beach. So I thought I'd just do my intro from here and share a few beach shots. I have got knitting, crochet and spinning to share with you. So I will leave you with a few shots of the beach before we get into what I've been making. I hope you enjoyed that little trip to the beach. What a difference a couple of hours makes. It's really clouded over out there now and it's quite windy and overcast. Beautiful sunshine when we were sat down on the beach this morning, so I think we timed that right. So time to get into the making portion of this episode. I'm hanging out in my living room today. Usually I take everything upstairs into my craft room, but two of the projects that I've been working on this week live in big baskets rather than project bags. So I figured I would be kind to myself, and rather than take several trips up 2 flights of stairs to lug everything up there just to bring it back down again, I might as well just set myself up down here and make things easier for myself. Okay, so time to get into the making. I'm looking around, I've got things either side of me, trying to figure out where to start. So I think I'll start with spinning this week. I still haven't really managed to find time to regularly get back to my spinning wheel at the moment. And I think that's partly because of the project that I've got on the wheel. You might remember, if you have watched for a little while, I've been spinning some rolags that I made earlier on in the summer from some raw fleece. And I'm spinning those long draw. And whilst I'm still having a few issues with my back, the method of sort of the long draw, you sort of twisting and pulling back, just isn't really agreeing with my physical abilities at the moment. Rather than stick with that project, I don't feel guilty about not doing it. It's just I want to use those rolags because I've made them all and I want to use them when they're still sort of relatively fresh, but they're just hanging out on my dining room table. They're not getting squashed or compacted. So I think I need to let go of the guilt of not working on that spin. And I think I'm going to treat myself to a new spin on the wheel, just as a bit of a palette cleanser. I've got plenty of braids of fibre to spin. So I think I'm just going to throw something different on the wheel and do some short forward draw, just to get back into the habit of spinning on my wheel. I have, however, been doing a bit of drop spinning this week on my Enid Ashcroft little Turkish spindle, and this project I have shown before. I'm spinning up some rolags that I purchased from Spindle and Stitches in their gelato colourway, which is lovely kind of pinks and browns. Not my usual thing. I'm not massively a pink person, but I do love a pink and brown combination. So I've got a few little turtles now. So each of these little turtles, which is kind of the cute name that's given to the little bundles that you make on a Turkish spindle, equates to one rolag. I've made 3 of these. Just hold. I've got those 2 and this one I've literally just finished. And I think I've got 3 left to spin. I did have a little, so I've managed to spin up 2 this week, or 1.5, I can't remember exactly. I did have a little bit of a faux pas with this one, in that I thought I'd finished spinning it and I took it off of the spindle, and then I found one of the colours still sort of hanging out in fibre, so I spun that little nugget up separately, and that one actually belongs with that Rolag. And as you can see, the other thing that I also managed to do was for these two, I spun with the brown on the outside. I'm pushing the middle out of that one. Need to stop handling these so much. And this one I spun with the brown on the inside. I obviously didn't pay attention to the first one that I did to keep them in order, but I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do with these plying wires yet. I've still got 3 to spin, so I'm not sure if I'm going to 2-ply these and try and keep the colour progression, or chain ply, or just mix and match. This is a sort of just for fun spinning project really. So yeah, if you're not familiar with the Turkish spindle, it basically has this kind of cross set of arms and then this sort of shaft in the middle, and they're really fun to use. You can't, depending on the size of your spindle, you can't get tons of stuff on the spindle, but they're great for spinning up these individual Rolags. At least this one is. This is a Enid Ashcroft spindle. She's a fabulous spindle maker. She usually updates once a week on her Etsy shop, but her spindles sell out super fast, so you have to be quick to grab one. But yeah, I can show you now that this is finished how these works. So the shaft also acts as a pin, so you can pull that out of the middle, and then the arms of the spindle just push out, and that's what gives you your nice little bundle of fibre. And these are great for 2-plying, because you can 2-ply from, if you keep the sort of first end of your fibre or the yarn that you're creating free, you can actually 2-ply straight from these if you wanted to. So yeah, they're a really sort of fun way to do a bit of spindling. And then when you're ready to start again, as you can see, one of these shafts has a big gap in it. This one is just sort of solid on the sides, and that sort of slides through the gap, and then you match up your holes and push your shaft back through, and you're ready to go again. Really like to get back to my wheel, so I think I'm going to grab a braid of fibre for that, and I'm also itching to start another project on my supported spindle, which I haven't used for a couple of weeks. So yeah, the urge to spin is strong at the moment. Next up we have crochet. I asked the question last week whether you wanted me to continue to show off the twiddle muffs that I've been making for charity, or whether you'd just like me to show them once a week. I didn't have any strong objections to showing them every week, and I had a couple of people comment to say that actually they like seeing them every week. So my crochet this week is again another twiddle muff. I've made a pink variation this week. On Wednesday I was able to go and sit in a lovely friend's garden. So my group that used to meet on a Wednesday in the shop all got together around the house of one of the ladies that used to come to that group. So it's really fun to see everyone again, and I took a few scraps of yarn and started this twiddle muff while we were sat in the garden in the sunshine, which was really nice. As you can see, I grabbed a whole bunch of pink scraps, and I also had some white fluffy fibre. I think that was some Serdar Ophelia. This one is actually quite Serdar heavy. The variegated yarns are the Serdar Crofter and Baby Crofter, and yeah, this one came together fairly quickly, so I just needed to decorate that now. I did also have a little bit more of the pink sort of combo left over, so I've started a second one, but I need to go and raid my scrap bag for some more pinks. I used up all of the little balls that I kind of threw into the project bag with this. I've decided to keep my twiddle muffs in this gorgeous project bag that was very kindly gifted to me by Ellie of Curio Stitches. She sent this to me a little while ago, and it's a drawstring bag, but it's quite a nice big size, so it's great for gathering up a bundle of my leftovers, throwing in my crochet hook when I have some twiddle muffs on the go. So I have decided to use this as my twiddle muff project bag for the time being. It's this beautiful vintage original Empire Strikes Back fabric, so the nerd in me loves this, and as you can see I've got the twiddle muff in there, and there's tons and tons of sort of room and space in there. So a great size, that project bag. Not sure if she has any over on her website at the moment, but I'm sure there will be some project bags over there. I've been really wanting to start a new crochet project using some hand spun yarn that I made last year, I think. I've got it all out, ready to go, along with the crochet hook. But I'm actually being really good and I'm sticking to my September projects. A few weeks ago, I set myself up a fun little game to choose the projects that I'd work on in September, and I've really stuck to those. So far, I have worked on 7 of the 8 projects that I picked using that little dice game. So we've only got another week or so of September left, so I'm determined to not get distracted with new projects. October will be the time for a few new things, I think. So I'm resisting the urge to start that new crochet project, and instead I'm sticking with the twiddle muffs. But there will be, for you crochet lovers out there, there will be something other than twiddle muffs coming up soon. And then for knitting, I have 3 works in progress to show you this week. The first one is living in this lovely red cardinals bag. This fabric was a gift from my friend Lisa. I made it up into a project bag, and inside here I'm keeping my Waiting for Rain shawl, which is a pattern by Sylvia McFadden, Soft Sweater. And this was a project that I started for our 12 cast-ons project last year, and I have been sadly kind of neglecting that. We still have a cowl going on for anyone who started any projects along with me. There is a chatter and a finished objects thread over in our Ravelry group, which is going throughout the year, and any projects that you finished that you started for our 12 cast-ons cowl, you can pop in that finished objects thread. I finished a few recently. My sheep socks were one of my 12 cast-ons, as was my sock set shawl, which I finished off last week. So I think I have finished 5 of my 12 projects now, so not quite where I wanted to be. Earlier on in the year I was hoping to finish 3 every quarter, but that's not quite happened. I've got a few that have seen a fair bit of work in progress, and the Waiting for Rain is one of those that I'm starting to work on and making progress on now, which is nice. I think there's a good chance I'll get at least another 2 or 3 done before the end of the year, I think. So I might not finish all 12 in the year, but I shall push on and see how many I can finish. We are going to be starting a new make-along on the 1st of October, running through the end of the year, which I hope will encourage people to finish what they have on their needles. And that will hopefully help me push through and finish some more of my works in progress too. But I'll chat about that a little bit more in a separate video coming up soon. So yeah, just a little teaser. Anyway, back to my Waiting for Rain. So this is my shawl. It's at that point where it's super scrunched up on the needles. The rows are really long. This is one of the reasons I like asymmetric shawls, because often they're kind of knit from side to side rather than lengthways. And yeah, I'm at the point now where each of these rows is getting to be quite a slog, and I've still got plenty of increasing to go, so I think the progress will slow down a bit now. But my little sort of yellow glittery ghosty there is showing where I was when I showed you this last week. So I put in the first short row lace section. It's going to be a bit hard to show that off to you. But yeah, this shawl has various lace sections kind of worked in short row wedges added into it. So I've finished that first, and I'm just on the next garter sticks. I'm just on the next garter stitch panel now. I think I've got about 28 rows to do, and I've done about 10. So this needs to kind of double in size before I am ready to insert the next lace panel. This is the Linnet colourway from Ainsworth and Prynne, and it's a wool and silk blend. Oh, it's so lovely and squishy and soft. It's this beautiful oatmeal background with speckles of rust and blue, and yeah, I really love this. So although I think this shawl is going to be a bit of a slog from here on in, I'm pretty sure it's going to be worth it. It's going to be so nice and snuggly when it's finished. So I just need to keep plugging away. The garter stitch rows are really nice kind of in front of the TV knitting. You have to increase at the end of the rows, but other than that you just knit away, and it's a very repetitive sort of 2-row increase pattern, so there's no need to kind of keep checking on a pattern or anything like that when you're in that garter stitch section, which is really nice. The second project that has seen a little bit of my attention this week is the Dude cardigan, which is a pattern that I'm knitting for my partner James, and I was working on one of the front pieces last time I showed you this. I can't remember which one it was exactly, but I've now finished both of them, so I'll hold them both up as proof. Actually, they go that way around. So yes, that got finished. The last time I showed this, I think it was in the middle of one of the colourwork sections somewhere. So I this week managed to knit, we'll say it was this one, from the mid bit here up here, doing all of the armhole and the neck shaping. And the other part of that project that I've been knitting, I actually was working on this when I was chatting to you yesterday. If you watched my little Yarn and Yarns extra, where I was chatting about Vlogtober and some of my Vlogtober plans, I've knit 2 facings that will go down the sort of middle of the cardigan on the fronts, and the zip will go behind those facings. So those 2 are now done. So I'm at the point now where I need to start seaming this thing together. So the only bit of actual knitting I've got left to do is the collar. So I think I need to seam the back, like the shoulder seams, the back and the front together, and I think I need to put these on, so seam down the front, and then I think I can start picking up for the collar and do that final bit of knitting. So sewing is not the most fun job, is it? But I think I need to try and prioritise that this week, because we are so close, and I don't know about you, but I'm kind of fed up of the sight of that that sweater. And that's living in one of my big baskets, because there's quite a lot of chunky yarn gone into that cardigan. So yeah, it would be nice to have something else living in those baskets. This basket could like house all of my works in progress, I think, put together. But yeah, it'd be nice to not walk into the room and see that glaring at me from the corner, making me feel guilty about not having worked on it. And then the second project that I have been working on this week is my weekender. And this is the project that you helped me pick as part of my September project list, and that's living in this handmade basket. I used to sell these at my shop. There was a local lady who made them with her father, who used to grow all of the reeds and the wood on his land over in France, and she used to go over in the summer and weave baskets with him. Sadly, they haven't been able to do that for the last couple of years. But yeah, I love this basket. It's got these lovely handles. It's just beautiful, rustic, sort of handmade, lovely. It's jingling a bit. I've got some bells in there, which are actually for my twiddle muff making. So let me put those in my twiddle muff project bag, get those out of the way. Right, so this project has seen quite a lot of work this week, and the last time we saw this here on the channel, I had only just knitted the ribbing. So I'm converting this pattern from a bottom up to a top down. My original thinking for that was not only for fit, was also because I'm using my hand spun yarn. I wanted to try and see what I could do to make the sleeves look fairly harmonious with the body. However, I don't think I'm actually going to manage that, no matter how I try, and I'll show you why in a minute. So I have been working away on these. So you knit the sort of top part of the sweater flat, and then you join for the round after the underarms, or if you're doing it the way the pattern says, obviously you work to the underarms and then you split. So I have pretty much finished both the back I don't know if this is going to be the back because they're both the same. And the front, we'll just arbitrarily call them the back and the front pieces. And I'm almost ready to join in around. There's one of these, whichever one there is, I'll have to measure them again. I thought there was yarn attached, but there isn't. One of them's a couple of rows shorter than the other. Now, this is getting a little bit awkward. I'm not sitting at the right angle to kind of show you. But the reason I'm thinking that the sleeves won't be particularly harmonious is because I have been splitting each of my hanks of yarn. So the rest of this basket contains all of the yarn that I spun up, and I laid them out roughly, I think, from light to dark-ish. I mean, it was never going to be exact, but I tried to sort of spread the colour in that manner. So all of my skeins are kind of labelled up with what order they were going to go in. But because I used many different braids of fibre and I split them down into quite short chunks, the colour change is quite rapid. So these top pieces, although I split each of my hanks in half, the top pieces, as you can see, look really quite different. So the colours in this side are quite drastically different to the colours in this side, which I have no problem with at all. I love how it's looking. I really am enjoying knitting this. But it means that if I were to split my yarn, say like I wound this off and then I split it into half, thinking, okay, I'll use half the skein on the body and then I'll do a quarter of each skein to knit the sleeves, it's still not going to look that harmonious because the colour changes so rapidly. So yeah, I think the whole reason for my converting this to top down is kind of null and void, really. But that doesn't matter. I like top down just because you can try it on for fit as you go. So I will sort of carry on and stick with my original plan. The yarn is quite different. When I was spinning up this basket, I felt like I was spinning fairly consistently, but now that I'm knitting, there are some definite thickness changes that are fairly obvious in person, if not kind of on the camera. But there are some yarns that are much thicker and then some that are quite a lot thinner. I don't think that really matters at all. I like how it's turning up, and I think only if you look really closely will you see the inconsistencies, and to be honest, the kind of lumpy bumpy nature of some of the bits of yarn is kind of all part of the handspun charm, if you ask me. And the fact that this sweater has so many colours in it as well probably will hide those sorts of issues. If I was spinning because I wanted to make, you know, like a sort of one colour sleek cabled garment or something, then I would definitely adjust my spinning style and keep checking and work on my consistency. So yeah, this kind of sweater, this is my first ever sweater spin, and I'm learning a lot from the knitting of the yarn. So it's definitely true what people say, knit with your hand spun yarn, because you will learn a lot about your spinning style, what your yarn looks like knit up, and where you might need to sort of tweak and adjust in the future. And again, it all depends on exactly what you're going for, doesn't it? I love the sort of textured, slightly thick and thin nature of the yarn, and I think the Weekender is a perfect pattern for this kind of rusticy style. It's a slightly oversized sort of cozy sweater. So yeah, so as you can see, I've done a lot of knitting, because when I picked this up this week, I literally had these two ribbed neckbands. I did the short row shaping, and I have just then switched to knitting stocking stitch backwards and forwards. The pattern has the reverse stockinette side, so the purl side, as the right side, and then what is traditionally the right side is the wrong side in this design. Actually, I think I like that in the handspun. It sort of mutes the colours and mulls the colours even more, I think. So yeah, my plan next is, I think I am going to finish the couple of rows that I need to on whichever piece of this flat knitting that I need to. And then I'm actually going to go back and join the shoulder seams and check for fit, and then I shall join for knitting in the round and get going with that. So yeah, that's everything that I have been making this week. I have just one more project left on my September projects list that I haven't gotten to, but my plan is to try and finish the dude this week and then spend whatever time is left working on the rack and the shrug, which is a colourwork shrug, which was the 8th project that was on my list. So yeah, that will be a little bit of an incentive for me to try and crack on and get the seaming and the sewing done on the dude. I need to order an open-ended zip, so it might not be finished by next week, but I'm certainly gonna try and progress it as much as I can. Before I sign off, I've got a couple of little acquisitions this week that I wanted to show you. I have been trying not to purchase too much. There were certain points in lockdown where I went a little bit purchase crazy, and I have so many beautiful things that are waiting to be used. So I decided to try and slow down on the purchasing, but it's really difficult because I have got some lovely maker friends who I want to support, and yeah, I think yarn and fibre buying is almost like its own separate little hobby to the actual using and making of the things that we purchase. But I saw that Ellie of Curio Stitches had some new fibre in her shop, and I couldn't resist. So I picked up this braid of fibre from Ellie. It's a no-name colourway, so I think it's just a one-off, but it's a really interesting blend of merino, silk, flax and linen, and this just really shouted Halloween to me. These beautiful colours with the purples and the, oh, that streak of orange there is just yummy. So yes, I decided that this had to come home with me, and this might be, I've not spun with linen before. I think I've had braids with a bit of flax in, or at least samples with a bit of flax in. So yeah, it's a really interesting blend to me, and this might be what I throw onto my supported spindle. There are so many colours in here, I don't think I'm going to kind of spin with a particular plan. Let's see if I can start to undo this. Look at how yummy that is. So yeah, I think I'm just going to break off. I think I'll strip it down and start spinning and see what I get. So yeah, I think this might be the one that I start on my supported spindle this week. I'm not sure how well my spinning wheel would. I'm definitely looking for a project to spin on my wheel, but as you know, my wheel, if you've been following, my wheel's a vintage wheel, and I've only got one sort of whirl with 2 ratios on it, so it doesn't handle every fibre particularly well. So this is such a beautiful fibre. I know that I'll be able to spin it nicely on my supported spindle or on one of my drop spindles. So yeah, we'll see. Tune in next week and I've probably completely changed my mind and thrown it on the wheel. The other thing that I picked up this week is a magazine. Here in the UK we have this publication called The Knitter, which comes out monthly. I don't tend to buy tons of magazines anymore. The only one that I get regularly is Pom Pom Quarterly, but I really loved the cover design on this. It has some really unusual kind of puffy sleeves. Let me try and get another picture of the cover design. You can see it's sort of got this really tight, so these really sort of big oversized sleeves and then this tight cuff, and not usually something that I would be attracted to, but I really like that in this design with that sort of bobble yoke as well. So that might be a project that I'd be tempted to cast on. There are quite a few nice projects in here. There's this beautiful vest, and this kind of thing is definitely my style. I wear quite a lot of short sleeve tops with longer sleeve garments underneath. There's also a beautiful cabled sweater in here, but the reason I picked this up really was as a little bit of a souvenir, because my lovely friends Jenny and Zoe, who run Cartrev Yarn and also the Knit Tea Retreat, there's a little feature of them in the back of the magazine, a little interview with them both about the story of Cartrev Yarns, the lovely sort of made and produced in Wales yarn that they make. I've got a sweater quantity of that I received for my birthday waiting for me to cast on upstairs. So yeah, if you want to have a good read and grab a few really nice patterns, this issue's nice, then I can recommend the Knitter magazine this month. So that's everything that I wanted to chat to you about this week. I hope you've all had a good week. We were treated to some really nice sunshine, although that seems to have disappeared today over the last week or so. So I have had a few opportunities to sit and knit in the garden while I've been taking a break from work. If you have been watching the vlogs that I've been posting, you'll know that I have also now managed to secure a little space back on the high street. So as well as the Yarn and Yarns web shop, I'm also back in a little bricks and mortar space. It's not quite the same as my own shop before, but it's a really nice little space I'm renting from another local business for a few months just to see how things go. It's a bit unpredictable at the moment because our restrictions here in the UK with regards to COVID are starting to tighten up again, and there's quite a few boroughs around Wales that have gone into quite tight lockdown restrictions again. So far that hasn't hit us here in Cardiff or in the Vale of Glamorgan where I live, but it seems likely that it's probably just a question of time. So I'm not sure what that will mean for the high street. Every area seems to be slightly different in terms of what you are and aren't allowed to do when you go into these kind of restrictive measures. So yeah, we'll see what that brings. But I still have the website to hopefully keep me busy. I'm really enjoying that. I've got lots more work to do to add products to the web shop over the coming weeks. So I've got plenty to keep me busy, even if we do end up going into lockdown again. So yeah, let me know how things are in your corner of the world. Let me know what you've been working on. Have you been knitting away while we've been chatting today? A lot of you often tell me that you're working away on one of your projects while you are sat keeping me company, which is always lovely to hear about. I shall be participating in Vlogtober, which is coming up shortly. I think October starts next week, and if you don't usually watch my extras, I'd really appreciate it if you skip back one video and watched the kind of Vlogtober plans video, because I'm asking for some help and suggestions to help me keep the content coming through Vlogtober. So if you've got 10 minutes to spare and you haven't yet watched that video, I would really love it if you gave that one a little watch and help me come up with some video content for Vlogtober. I'm trying to rope you all in to help me do some of the work. Well, you don't have to do any of the work as such, you just have to help me come up with a few things to talk about. Right, I'm just waffling now, so I think it's time to wrap this video up. Until we get to spend time together again, I hope you get to do some of the things that you enjoy. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now.